Hello and welcome to What We're Watching. It's Catherine.
And Liz.
And Ed.
And John.
I'm going to start off with a show called The Big Door Prize, which is on Apple TV, or Apple TV Plus, rather.
Yep.
It is apparently based on a book, which I was not aware of until I watched the show, and then I was like, what is going on with this? It's very interesting. Maybe something magical is going on. It's a small town, which I love a small town setting, so that's great. All of the people end up going and doing this little fortune-telling machine, and it gives them their life's purpose in like one word.
God, how convenient.
Well, it's a little bit of a dilemma because what if you don't agree with what this life's purpose is, right?
I mean, what if you had no direction? I mean, just why not try it?
Sure. So
This is the computerized or the machine version of a high school counselor. Okay.
yeah,
got
kind
it.
of. It's very interesting, this premise, that all of the people in the town very quickly embrace this machine and then also very quickly embrace whatever this life's purpose fortune teller thing has told them. The life's purpose words are kind of sometimes vague, but then very specific. So like one of them was a dancer, and one of them was, I think it's the principal of the school becomes a motorcycle like biker person because it says biker on her thing. So
Oh my God, what if it meant bicycle? I mean,
that is a little bit of it, that there's some interpretation that is required / could go wrong. So it stars Chris O'Dowd, who is delightful. Really love him.
yeah.
Most people, of course, remember him as the love interest in Bridesmaids.
Kristen
And-
Wiig, he played the cop.
Yes. So he's great in this. He's the main character. And initially, he's really not into this fortune-telling machine that also, side note, mysteriously showed up in this town. Nobody knows how it got there. It just was like in this general store one day. It's very weird. I love that it's got this glowy blue light, and it's called the Morpho, sort of like metamorphosis, and it's got a butterfly on it. It's like a whole thing. And the town really quickly is like, yeah, we love this thing. We're not even concerned that it's all maybe magical and came from who knows where.
Well, was it an awesome town before? Or was it kind of maybe they all could use some push in a direction, any direction?
Maybe. It's a cute town, though. I mean, people seemed not dysfunctional, so it wasn't that big of a problem that they were like, oh, God, somebody, please tell me what to do. Everybody seemed to be doing okay. There's obviously some upheaval.
Complacency, maybe?
Maybe. There's some upheaval that comes along with these predictions or fortunes or whatever you want to call them. So Chris O'Dowd is married. The actress who plays his wife is Gabrielle Dennis, and she's delightful. They have a daughter, so we follow a little bit of the daughter's storyline and the daughter's boyfriend. They're both very good. These young people, they're in high school. Chris O'Dowd's character is a teacher in the high school. His life's purpose is one of the funny, not great life's purposes. And what is he going to do about that? Initially, he is not interested in finding out. And then when he does, it's a real wah-wah. So it's kind of a magical light comedy drama.
This sort of reminds me of The One. Remember that series?
Oh, yeah.
Where you might not get the result that you like. I
Right.
mean, if you're
Right.
even like satisfactorily married, maybe you shouldn't take the test.
Right. The one was able to predict who
Through
the
your
one
DNA.
who the
Right.
one match in the world was for you. And some
That was
people
on Netflix. I don't even know if that's still available. I'm like, did I finish that series? I don't even know.
I did. It was really good.
I know, but was it just a one and doneer?
I don't know, maybe.
It's from quite a few years back. I do remember that. It's like, oh, so. All right. Sorry to sidetrack you, but
No,
remind me a
not at
little
all.
of that. Okay.
I think the biggest fun character in this is Josh Segarra, who recently came up because he was also in She-Hulk. Ed, do you remember you mentioned him?
Yeah, for sure.
He's fantastic. He's real goofy in this, which is great. Very
You
enjoyable.
like a goofy Josh.
Oh, he's so delightful as a goofy. I don't care if he can do anything else. It's so good what he does. So anyway, that is The Big Door Prize, and I will probably figure out if I can listen to the audiobook and see if they line up. The season 1 is a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I hope that they continue on. But for right now, I thought it was still very good and enjoyable to just watch this first season. Okay, so the next thing I watched was Silo. I watched it with Eric, and we have the last episode to still finish. It is also on Apple TV Plus, and it's an apocalyptic situation. And you know how normally we are used to seeing...
Yeah, normally in the apocalyptic situation.
I'm
the
saying...
apocalyptic situations you're used to.
Okay. I'm saying, when we watch an apocalyptic show or movie or whatever,
Sure.
It's usually we're out and about, right?
Yeah,
we're seeing that the world is devastated, right?
Post-apocalypse is like outdoor time.
Sure. This is all indoor time because the outside is real, real bad. So this silo is where everybody lives. This very dank, multi-level, below the ground. Life is really difficult and dirty and whatever. And we are not sure what's going on outside. And that's the big mystery. Obviously, everyone living in the silo has been told and believes that outside is poisoned and they can't go out there. And initially, we have David Oyelowo, who is the sheriff, and his wife, played by Rashida Jones, and they're starting to get suspicious. Kind of unfortunately at different times, like the wife, played by Rashida Jones, is suspicious first, and then later the David Oyelowo character becomes suspicious. So they don't quite sync up, and that causes some problems. But it's really fascinating. It's also based on a book. Actually, this is a book series.
Oh, it's not based on Blast from the Past.
No.
Okay. Kind of, I was getting a little Blast from the Past vibes, maybe.
Yeah, not Blast from the Past. Sorry. Ed.
Whatever.
So it's really interesting, and it looks good considering it's all inside this silo. There's a weird thing that's going on with technology where they do have computers, but they don't have cell phones. They don't have TVs. It's really, there's some weird stuff going on. And I don't think it's going to get resolved in this final episode that Eric and I still have to watch because this is a 3 or more book series. So I'm not sure everything is going to be revealed, but I'm very intrigued. I want to know what's going on with the silo. What's going on outside the silo? What happens if you go outside? Oh, man. Okay, so that's Silo, and that is on Apple TV+. All right, so next up, John and I watched Class of '09 on Hulu. Right, John?
Yes, we did.
We watched it with Eric because it was in his spot. I get in trouble if I watch shows that are exactly Eric-y type of shows, and then he's like, hey, what happened to that show that we should have watched together? I'm
Is there some military stuff?
Yeah.
Is there some drama? Is there some mystery? Why did you watch that without me?
Exactly. So in this case, he does like a law enforcement idea. So Class of '09 is referring to an FBI class, the Class of '09. But the way the story is told, we're seeing some prequel stuff. We're seeing the present, which would be now, 2023, and then future stuff, which I think is 2034. Is that right, John?
Yes, correct.
Correct. I remembered all the numbers. So Class of '09 is them at their youngest, right? They're in the FBI. They're getting trained. They all come from different backgrounds, and they're trying to get through this training and become agents. In the present day, we see where they're at, which most of them have stayed in to differing degrees of success. And there's also this big, not AI, but like a crime-solving investigative computer.
That's a description, yes.
Oh, that didn't sound very affirming. All right, can I give it another shot? Maybe it's just like a big...
Why are you trying to give it all away?
I'm not trying to give it all away. All right, so anyway, in the present day, they're trying to get this computer /AI thing online and involved in investigations. And one of the main characters, played by Brian Tyree Henry, who is fantastic, he's trying to really push this computer database evolution system. And it's maybe not going to go great, as we see in the future. So it's interesting because also you see the main cast is Kate Mara, Sepide Mofi, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I apologize, Brian Tyree Henry, Brian J. Smith, and then the instructors are Brooke Smith and John Briones, who are both really great. Then we additionally have Rosalind Elzar, who is playing Tyree Henry's wife. She's fantastic in this. We just recently saw her in Slow Horses, so at first I didn't recognize her because she was styled so differently. And then all of a sudden I was like, what the heck? This is my girl from Slow Horses. Okay, so that was kind of an exciting moment.
Yeah, it wasn't obvious at first, and then as you got to see more of it, you're like, oh, it's definitely the same person.
It's definitely her.
That is unacceptable. CIA and FBI, what's happening?
Well,
not CIA.
Actually, you're wrong on both counts.
Wait, what?
Yes, in this, she is the spouse of one of the trainees.
Whoa. Spoiler, geez.
What I said, she was... Okay, whatever. All right, sorry.
Are you gonna watch that, John? Are you even gonna? I mean, come on.
He already watched it.
Well, then how's this a spoiler to anybody? Oh, that might watch it.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Oh God.
All right. So in this, she's not in the FBI. And in Slow Horses, they were MI5 or MI6. So both count, CIA and FBI, not in either.
All right.
But, you know.
All right, says you. Maybe she's that good.
She was undercover the whole time.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, perfect. Sure. Anyway, John, what did you think of it? I really liked it, although I didn't love the ending.
Yeah, unfortunately, they built this really smart puzzle that at the end may be one of the more obvious solutions that was pretty unsatisfying. But just to come back for a second, I mean, you are mainly following these 4 recruits out of the academy.
Right.
Some of these other things, really, you're paying a lot of attention. You know, the instructor ends up being an important character, so you do care about these people. But theoretically, it's really seeing these 4 people who end up being pretty important throughout this course of history in this portion.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, so that is Class of '09, and it's on Hulu. Definitely recommend, but I have a feeling that it's going to be like a one-off. It didn't feel like they were going to do another season, mainly because they're doing the triple timeline. So it's like, what do you even go back to? You've wrapped up this whole story about, one, how they got into the FBI, what happened with this main computer storyline, and then we wrap that up. So I don't even know what they would do. So anyway, not sure what the future plans for Class of '09 is. Maybe there'll be a different class and a different problem.
Class of 99.
Class of '99. Maybe their kids will
Yes.
get in there. Okay. And last, I'm very excited. The Great is back. I mean, I think it's great. This is on Hulu, and it is the story, the super embellished story of
Occasionally true story.
the occasionally true story is what they actually put on the title graphic of Catherine the Great in Russia. Now, it is bananas bonkers crazy, and everything is really out of control. I mean, every character is just very wild. There's a lot of crazy sex stuff.
Now, theoretically, you might already know this because this is season 3. So
Yeah.
it's following in the mold of season 1 and season 2. But yes.
This is true. Yes. But I'm trying to say, if you've never heard of The Great, this is what you need to know. It's crazy. But it's super fun, very fast paced, and looks unbelievable. I mean, like, I don't know what the costume budget
Like
for
the
this show
production
is.
value is
oh,
incredible?
yeah. I mean, like, every dress / suit / whatever, it looks incredible. Like, I don't know where these fabrics are coming from, what the set is, or if they're in an actual palace. It looks amazing. And then they're all just doing wacky, crazy stuff. So I enjoy it a ton. So it's just come back. Only a few episodes are currently available because, you know, that's how Hulu does it. And we've got Elle Fanning as Catherine. She's delightful. As John said, this is season 3, so if you're already aware of it, you know all this stuff. But then we've also got Nicholas Hoult as Peter, so it's really focusing on the tumultuous relationship between the 2 characters of Catherine and Peter, and Catherine really taking over as the power person in the relationship and really wanting to rule Russia. I don't know much about history. All of it I learned and got tested on in high school and then promptly forgot. Like, I don't remember any of it.
Not long core term memory.
Yeah, no, it's not really baked in there. So none of this is stuff that I know anything about. I don't know how much of it is true. I'm assuming that it's based on historical stuff, not the way they talk to each other or the way they act, because that is very contemporary and wild and crazy. So that seems unlikely, but it's very fun.
A fictionized history, basically. What's happening.
Yes.
Okay.
But definitely Catherine the Great, I guess, was pretty great and did some stuff. So that's what we're basing that on. And it is very funny that she comes
Well, are
in.
you named after Catherine the Great?
No.
You're not named after a saint.
Yeah, there's a Saint Catherine.
Yeah, I
and
don't think
plus, this is a Catherine with a C, and I'm a Catherine with a K. And I think this Catherine was of German descent and then married into the Russian royal family and became the...
I always thought you were named after Catherine the Great, but now history's being rewritten.
Well, we did have little monikers when we were younger. So
Right.
it was like James the First, William the Conqueror, Catherine the Great, Liz the
Elizabeth the Queen.
Elizabeth the Queen.
No, I just made that up.
I don't know what it was. And then it was Rosemary the baby.
No,
and then there were 3 more kids.
Then Rosemary the Herb.
Rosemary the
The first
Liz,
3 sound
the Lizard
correct.
Queen, and
Yeah.
Rosemary the Herb.
The
that's about
first
how it
3
went.
sound correct. I don't know about Elizabeth the Queen or Rosemary the Herb, but
I don't think Rosemary the Herb was right.
They could be accurate. They could be accurate.
Okay, so anyway, Catherine the Great, no, I'm not named after her. But also in the cast, we have a couple of real amazing performances. Douglas Hodge playing Velementov, who is amazing and ridiculous. I love him. He's so great. We have Phoebe Fox, who is playing Mariel, who is her friend.
Or
and
is
then
it Muriel?
Well, I think they just say Mariel.
That's one of my favorite Tony Collect. You're awful, Muriel.
Is that Muriel's wedding?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So Phoebe Fox playing Muriel is great.
That's a great name, Phoebe
I know.
Fox.
Phoebe Fox. She's really good in it. And this season, they've had a bit of a falling out. So they're really.
She's out of the royal court.
This royal court is the most crazy place, too.
I mean, because we just watched and we reviewed Queen Charlotte as well. I mean, the court is a dangerous place to be. You're in, you're out. Do you have your title anymore? Don't you?
And this,
Ooh,
the way they're painting this Russian court is also like, there's a lot of murder going on and just random shootings and like, let's bring a bear in here. And like, what is happening? It is crazy. Also, I want to make sure that I mention Adam Godley, who plays the Archbishop. He is crazy, hilarious good. I think I mentioned him before, like many episodes ago when I talked about The Great, and I ended up saying like the weirder the better. He is so weird and bizarre and just like doing, it's great though. It's so great. So I love him. He's phenomenal. Okay, so there you go. Did I say Nicholas Hoult was playing Peter? Then I think I covered everybody.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
just checking. All right, there's also this season, we get the King and Queen of Sweden.
Well, if you remember all the way back, because we had, there's a part where they're talking about a battle, which we actually was part of the show way back. So we had seen this King and Queen of Sweden.
We had?
Yes. And that King of Sweden is a Slow Horses crossover.
I know. I was going to mention that. I know. 2 Slow Horses crossovers. We haven't mentioned the other one, which is Voltaire, right?
Correct.
So there's 2 cast members from Slow Horses in this, but specifically this guy who plays the king of Sweden, he was, I think, Spider.
I don't remember, but they didn't like him.
No,
he was in the main office.
Yes, and he was a real jerk.
Correct.
Yeah, so in Slow Horses. In this, he is really delightful and weird. I mean, everybody in this show is weird and also delightful, but it's really fun. His name is Freddie Fox. I don't think he's related to, what is this Phoebe Fox? What's going on? There's double Foxes in this. Okay, so he's great in this. And Voltaire is played by Dustin Demery Burns. And he is great in this. So that's our other Slow Horses connection. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up there on The Great. And we'll check back later when the season has wrapped. Okay, Liz, what do you got?
Actually, Ed, why don't you go?
Okay. Sorry, I just have to mention Freddie Fox, seemingly not related. And then also very much more to his name going on with Frederick Sampson Robert Maurice Fox.
What the heck? That's amazing. Okay, good for him.
All right. So on that amount of reading, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a couple things that I read while I was watching them on Netflix. I watched Que Viva Mexico, which I had a whole bunch of time, and I was like, all right, I don't mind a subtitled story. What's going on with this? And I'll just read the description off of IMDb, which is basically the same thing I saw on Netflix. After his grandfather's death, a man travels with his wife and his kids to his hometown, where chaos ensues with his relatives over the inheritance. I'm like, chaos. That was an important word. I'm in. Let's watch it.
Chaos.
It's 3 hours. Of course I'm going to watch and read for 3 hours. It's going to be great.
Wow.
I was in a little over my head because they're going to like rural Mexico. So there is a lot of fast talking going on. So I'm like catching a lot of what I'm reading, and then I'm hearing some stuff. I'm like, well, that's not exactly what that translates to. What? I missed something. Got to rewind. There was a lot going on. And that's exactly what the story is. It's a nice guy and his 2 kids and his wife in their nice, set up house, and he's having kind of some struggles in his career, not really making that happen. And we get introduced at the beginning of the movie with this element where he pops out of a dream. And it's just such a ridiculous moment where like his entire family from rural Mexico comes to Mexico City to his nice house to this nice dinner, and it's a disaster. Wakes up. Oh my gosh, I thought my family was coming to visit. Yeah, well, then the phone rings and he has to go down because his granddad dies. So he's got some kind of inheritance. And he doesn't really get along with his family, but let's make it a family trip. And so 3 hours of this family trip later, which turns into about 8 months of visiting, it unravels when he's there. And you can kind of like get on board with what's happening and why the whole family is like definitely like seeing him as like a rock star, and he's not. He's like struggling with his life and his career, and he's got bills and he's got a mortgage. He doesn't own the house that he's in. Yeah, that's not how any of his family sees it. So it just kind of unravels and unravels some more, and then like the car gets caught on fire.
This is sounding like chaos.
It is a lot of chaos, but it's a lot of fun to watch. And so I'm watching this, reading as much as I can to catch up. And as I'm watching this, there are multiple other family members and story characters that come into play, which I didn't realize until then I verified in the credits. The family member that's still alive that was with the grandfather is played by one character. Then he is also a triplet. So there are 3 characters played by the same actor.
Oh, love that.
Then he also has a very tall son who plays basically his security in all 3 of those circumstances. So one of them is the mayor of a small town that's nearby. So of course he wants to like get the property, and it's his chief of police that is his son. Then the family that he goes down to visit, it's the son that's right there with him, helping him run that little family area. It's like basically an old dead mine. And that's kind of the premise of the whole movie, is that this inheritance is a dead family mine that they've never been able to find the gold on. And it's just been this quagmire that has ruined this whole family. They all think that they can figure it out. Well, that 3-hour-long movie is essentially he falls into the exact same trap that everyone in his family falls into. Sure. And unfortunately for them, they finally give up on it as a family. And, he is kind of the actual salvation for the whole family. It's just really, really terrible ending overall. It doesn't work out for anybody.
Oh, no.
So it was an enjoyable 3 hours of reading. That's what I have to say about Que Viva Mexico on Netflix. And I will go ahead and list the son who comes down, or the grandson who comes down for the inheritance. It's played by Alfonso Herrera, and he's fantastic. He holds his composure for 85% of the movie.
Oh, okay.
It's really well done. And you don't believe that he would have held his composure with that family for that long. And his wife is played by Ana de Reguera. She's also fantastic, but, is playing his wife and wants things from him and wants him to be successful and do things. So it all feeds into this eventual situation. He ends up supporting his whole family, which is not how he planned on going down for this inheritance. He basically re-inherits his whole family.
That was the inheritance.
Yeah.
Surprise!
And the second thing, some reading, but not quite as much. I watched the new feature on Hulu, Flaming Hot, which is directed by Eva Longoria. It's, I think, her first feature film that she's directed, and it is really very entertaining. It's about the idea of the Flaming Hot Cheetos chip, where that flavor came from. Essentially, the story of an employee of the company coming up with an idea and finding the way to pitch the idea. And through, every single person in the entire movie saying, no, don't make this move, don't try this, don't go forward. Obviously, he's got some family who's on his side and supporting him. But at work, everyone is like, no, absolutely not. Don't talk to the next person above me. No, you're not supposed to talk to that person. And so he figures out a way. He figures out a way to call the entire head of Frito-Lay, basically, to pitch this concept. And Tony Shalhoub the head of the chip manufacturing company, actually buys into it and shows up and is really an enjoyable part of the experience and character, because you're expecting like a hard, money-oriented person, and he really gets what the main character was offering, Ricardo Montañez. He wanted to reconnect the snack that they were enjoying and making with what he experienced in his culture, which was we would then take the snack that you make and spice it up and make a real good snack out of it. So him pitching that idea was less about pitching a concept to, make money and become successful. It was more pitching, let's connect to a culture. Let's actually give something to these people that they want. They don't know that they want it. And it was really inspiring to like kind of see a real story, even though it was, very well acted and probably not the exact things that happened through all of the, the real backstory, but seeing his passion for this concept, not because it was for himself or to be successful monetarily, but like, no, this is a really good idea. This is something I'm interested in and I think would really sell. He got like the owner of the company, the person who's in charge of all those decisions, to understand that point and like sign on to that, and then basically get everybody else to sign on. And however that went in the real world, it was very entertaining to watch these actors do a version of this. I myself am not a huge fan of the Flaming Hot Cheetos. I will occasionally enjoy a Flaming Hot, but I will say that it really did change the quality of the snacks that were out there. Like, you weren't just getting like a nacho cheese Dorito anymore. You're getting like real flavors showing up on the shelves. All right, so Flaming Hot.
And I do want to
highly recommend.
Yeah, and I do want to say in regards to Eva Longoria, this might be her first feature, but she has directed a lot of television.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's definitely tried to position herself both as a producer and a director behind the camera.
Yeah, this is her first feature, but she's directed a lot of television so far. Yeah, it's great for her. I'm excited that she's going in this direction. I will say that I was interested in watching it and haven't watched it yet, but I did do a little deep dive on this guy, and there is a bit of controversy that maybe this is not a true story, even though he's been using it as his talking points for doing speaking tours for a while, but not from when the Flaming Hot Cheeto first came on the scene. And at some point, Frito-Lay did go on record and say, well, he was not involved in any of the official development of this product, but they didn't stop him from talking about it. And I anyway, so it's interesting that like, I'm not sure what the true story is, but then if
I were a multi-million-dollar international chip manufacturer, I might not totally clear up the mystery behind who's responsible for the phenomenon of Flaming Hot. Like it however much you want. Whatever story you like works.
Yeah. I do like it as a story, though.
Yeah. So those were the two more engaged with my eyes because I was reading them, so I wasn't always paying attention to the acting performances and who was in them. So I was, not 100% watching it. Whereas still food related, but not language complicated reading, more just enjoying every moment of the visuals that they put up when it's about food. I watched season 1 and I'm almost done with season 2 of The Bear, which Liz has previously reviewed.
Oh, sure.
And I was very suspicious, even from your review, that I was going to get like anxious about, heightened kitchen energy. And mostly was season 1 was really enjoyable, that it was not trying to amp up the bad energy in the kitchen. It was really trying to correct all of that and fix the mistakes. And given that there's this whole backstory and why it's happening and where the passion and drive and the family atmosphere is coming from in the show, I didn't know that going in, which made season 1 a different experience watching, because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like frantic restaurant energy, and I was getting more of like a family oriented story, but with some food porn. If there ever be some food porn, even if it's the sandwiches that they're making, I wanted one of those damn sandwiches from the beef.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Chicago beef sandwich. So you've watched the second season as well?
Almost all the second season, and there is just a bevy of extra stars in this season.
Oh, like guest stars, you mean?
Yeah, there's less concentration on the problem from season 1, which was this restaurant quagmire. And even though all the character development outside of that and inside of that is still utilized in this season, we know that they're moving forward. They're moving on from the beef. So I kind of I paused in the first halfway through the first episode of season 2, and I said, all right, Lip from Shameless. I watched almost all of Shameless. Please don't fall in love and screw another career up. I'm tired of that character arc for you. Lip is the character that Jeremy Allen White plays from Shameless. If you haven't watched Shameless, it is available on Netflix. It's a fantastic watch. It is pretty shameless in what it approaches and does, so be prepared for all sorts of stuff. But I really enjoyed his character, so I was like, I had a savor watch where I was going to watch The Bear, and then you reviewed it, and like, oh, now I'm a little off on that. I'll wait till there's more to watch, and I'm glad that I waited for the second season to drop, because each episode so far has had an opportunity to expand their entire character. From the first season, where you only got like an amuse-bouche of the characters, you didn't get quite a full meal. You kind of do really get like a really good sense of what that character is going to play in the story now. Because before it was this mangled family that you were trying to figure out. And so if you don't want to keep that going, which they don't, you do have to give everybody some space. So at the top of the series, season 2, I'm like, all right, don't mess your whole situation up with the relationship, dude. And everybody else, I want to get to know you a little bit. You got to rock star it out somehow. So you're going to give me a couple like one-off episodes. But would you please open the restaurant? I want to see you fail immediately and then figure it out. They didn't. I wanted them to. I paused at the beginning of the season and I wished that they had burned through the build, which fine. They're taking the whole season to do the build and open the restaurant. I wanted to get back to the restaurant. Unfortunately for me, I got confused and I thought the name of the show was The Beef, like beef on Netflix. And I was excited about the restaurant part of it. It's the bear, and that is the main character, the bear, although technically all the family members. So, okay, I kind of had to wait through this whole season of them making a restaurant. You had a restaurant last season. That's all right.
Yeah, but it's really, if you go to the first season, it's about Carmy coming back to his family's business that was run by his brother who has died. Mm. And he's going to try to salvage it and save it. And man, it is just like, it does not seem hopeful. But there is something that happens, and we don't do spoiler, because if you decide to start watching it, there's something that happens that sort of sets them in another direction. And now Carmen is able to do maybe the restaurant of his dreams or his vision. So he needs to shut down the family business, the beef, and rebuild it from the ground up. And having worked in a couple food industry related jobs, I was shocked. Like, how much is this going to cost you for like in a shitty neighborhood in Chicago for basically a hole in the wall? What? You had a functioning restaurant, but they are scrapping basically all of it, and how long they project it's going to take. But then I remember I stopped at episode 2 and I said to my husband, I go, they have to cut the build time like way down, just because they will have no money if they take 6+ months to build this restaurant. So they start moving things along. And listen, Oliver Platt, I think, was in the second episode. Uncle Jimmy. I just love Oliver Platt. So
I'm a big fan of his. For sure.
There are so many good characters, although Cousin Richie drives me insane. This is where
he's a fucking amazing actor, because him in
fine.
Andor also drove me fucking insane. I love that guy now because I know that he could drive someone insane.
But I will say, in today's times, with all the like self-help and get toxic people out of your life, I cannot believe they didn't fucking cut him, because he's actually not even blood. As a viewer, you're just like, oh my God, you are more of a hindrance than help. So I cannot believe you were not anxious watching last season. This season, episode 1, I stopped midway through. I said to my husband, I go, nope, not in the mood for this. Because it was just like, just the frantic pace. I was like, nope, Then not so late at night, a little more refreshed, picked it back up, and now we're basically halfway through the season. And I think it has actually it's more than the 8 typical for a second season. So they're really giving it a long lead.
Yeah, it's a full 10 episodes. A full 10. That sounds ridiculous to say. I've been alive long enough that shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, full 10.
A full 10.
Mm-hmm. On streaming, that's a full order.
That's a good order.
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And we got a 10 top. So I have no complaints.
And I will say, watching it, you were like, how is like a finer... He said something that was so classic. Him and his basically partner, the other head chef, opposite Carmy, Sydney, the line chef that is going to get promoted to sous chef, hopefully. She's the one that wants a star. She wants a star.
Yes.
Very ambitious.
Just one.
Very talented. We're trying to decide what is the vision of the new place going to be. it was like so many catchphrases. I was like, oh my God, that is such a restaurant language of like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's going to be contemporary, but sexy, but not simple. Like, we're going to keep it like streamlined, but like, we're going to amp it up. It was like, oh my God.
What does any of that mean?
And of course, like,
modern,
yes,
but
yes.
we also want it to be classic.
Yeah, we got, yep, sounds good. So just the whole world. And then, like Ed said, there's all this family dynamic underbelly always going on too. So it's great character development. You root for them, but you just, I mean, like this neighborhood, like you're going to put all this money in this neighborhood that was used to a Chicago beef sandwich place.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'll say this, and I'm going to try to say this without spoiling anything, because I know that you haven't gotten this far in season 2. There are some fantastic episodes in season 2 that are so much less about a restaurant plot line. There's an expectation where you're going to get back to the restaurant and the stuff that's going on with that and the characters that are happening. And there's like, 80% of this one particular episode that I'm thinking of, Honeydew, that is not spent there. And you get to really pay attention to a specific storyline for one particular character. And they do that a couple times throughout the season. And again, not trying to ruin anything.
Was that like when they went to Uncle Jimmy's last season, season 1, when they basically had to cater the kid's birthday party? So it was out of the restaurant and they're forced to this kid's birthday party and they basically get all the kids drunk. It is so good. It's so good.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So between Honeydew, which was an excellent like vignette almost episode, and they gave you plenty of the actual plot line that you need, but there was so much of this episode was that particular character. But then there's like 2 episodes later. I'm not going to say that I was blown away by this episode, but I wasn't expecting it in this season from where we left in season 1. I wasn't expecting them to give you this much backstory. And that's about all I'll say about it. Fishes is an excellent episode. I don't get too emotional about like these shows where I'm not going to really connect to a character too seriously, but how that episode explains enough made me almost want to like take the show apart and put it back together in order so I could understand from like how you're telling me I was paying attention to these characters. I haven't paid attention to enough because there was more information about them there. And that's always great when they give you like a throwback episode that really informs what's happening with the characters right now. And those are all the tasty morsels I brought to the podcast today.
Okay. Who's next?
I can go. So, yes, obviously we just talked about The Bear. I'm into season 2. I'm also watching The Idol, the controversial Idol on Max. I mean, wow. At the same time, just the renaming of Max taking off HBO.
That's a whole weird thing.
I will never understand that. Just for hashtag, did no one say just for hashtag purposes?
That's not going to help.
That's not going to help. Where HBO, having grown up in the era of its inception, it's like equivalent to Nike. I mean, there is only one HBO and you know what it means. So I will never completely understand this Max.
Yeah, this rebranding to Max might have
I didn't
been a
mind
misstep.
HBO Max. I was going to be down for that, but just Max, no. So The Idol, like I said, controversial. The show was created by Sam Levinson, who also did Euphoria.
Oh, sure.
With The Weeknd, and they probably more people were involved, but they were the primary creators of it.
So The Weeknd, meaning the musician The Weeknd,
Yes.
is one of the executive producers and creators of this show?
Yes, and he also is the lead male in it, Tedros.
Oh.
And he is an awful human being in this. So I, it's one of those things where I had heard previously that from early reviews from Cannes and was not good. But, I was intrigued. So it's starring Lily Rose Depp, who is Johnny Depp's daughter. I can't imagine he's watched one episode of this because it's been coined sort of as like torture softcore porn. And
it's super risque, right?
it is alarming. So she is gorgeous and very talented, Lily Rose Depp, especially under these circumstances. Holy moly. I mean, just some of the costumes are like, you're just walking around in a pair of underwear and pasties. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yikes.
But it's really about the story of a pop singer who is maybe in a crisis moment in her career because her mother's passed away. She maybe hasn't had a hit in 18 months where you're like, God, I mean, just the crank out machine. But a pop idol hence called The Idol, is one of those things where it's like a flash in the pan. So if you're not constantly making yourself relevant and working, you're going to be lost. And she is at this place where maybe she wants to have more depth and, stretch her artistic view. And she is very easily manipulated by this character played by The Weeknd, Tedros. So it's almost like, you just watch it and it's so awful because you want to save her, because he just comes in. He's basically a nightclub owner, possibly a porn producer. He is seedy as F. And he comes in along with his entourage and just take over the house. The assistant trying to report back to the team, which is Hank Azaria.
The team being her management or whatever.
Management team, which were not in any way portrayed as great people either. They're manipulative in a different way.
Barely managing.
Well, they're managing a star's career. And so the end goal is to make money. So her feelings and her emotions are not necessarily sometimes first and foremost. But you do become a business and a commodity and a brand. And the problem is, depending on how young you started, we see this time and time again, you may not be mature enough to understand that. You're responsible for so many people's livelihood, and it's too much weight on someone young. But Hank Azaria, along with Divine Joy Randolph, and she plays Destiny, are such a great management team. I'm just going to quote her, we got to kill that motherfucker. She's so good. Along with Jane Addams, and Dan Levy has an appearance too as part of the management team. And Eli Roth plays a horrible sort of basically concert promoter. These characters around them, these are very good actors.
Sorry, it took me a second. The Lost City is where I remember her from. We talked about that on this podcast. She's the agent or assistant who's I gotta get on this plane.
Yeah.
And you're gonna put me on this plane right now.
She's great. So it's just, and some of the lines are just you almost laugh out loud. And then in between, just very explicit sex scenes. So you're oh my God. For sure, my son's been away this week. I need to finish it before he gets home, because it's it can't even...
No pun intended.
Yeah, but because it can't even be in the queue. It's just so not appropriate, because the mental manipulation of this young lady is so disturbing that's almost the hardest part of it. So I don't think I'm recommending it, but it's so controversial right now. It's on the zeitgeist everywhere. It's only 5 episodes. There was rumors
that's the whole season, 5 episodes?
Yeah, there was rumors that the 6 got cut from all this negative reaction, but it really was, there was a woman director and Sam Levinson there, and maybe The Weeknd. There was creative differences and she left. And now it's more they recut or cut down to 5. So I don't think there's a 6 out there just in the ethers. But who knows?
It got reworked.
Yeah. So, Sunday night television on HBO, Sopranos, Sex and the City, was prestigious television watching. This is what the hell is happening? Who greenlit this? It is kind of crazy. I don't think there'll be a second season. I think Lily Rose Depp will go on and have a career because, like I said, she's really talented. So I hope she kind of rises from the ashes. Everybody else involved with it will probably survive and do fine. I'm not worried. And there's probably another season of Euphoria coming out. So, I don't really think there will be any repercussions. But I do have to say, The Weeknd has a rat tail. I don't know, he's supposed to be sexy in it. It's I love The Weeknd, and this is really kind of left a bad taste, yes, Ed, pun intended, in my mouth. So there you go. So I'm also watching, as a palate cleanser, Jury Duty on Amazon Prime.
Oh.
I had heard about this in the exact opposite way. Everybody's saying how great it is. And because it was, I heard sort of improv or, documentary, I'm what is this? Actually, what it is a documentary style comedy series. And it really takes place as if a jury is happening, and it's not a character, a real person, Ronald, gets selected by, the judge to be on this jury. He is the only one not acting. He is the only one that does not know this is a TV series. He knows there's a documentary going on, and they're being interviewed for something about being on a jury. So
But everyone else around him is fake.
Yes. I do not know how in the world they cast someone so perfectly and got so lucky with Ronald. He is so innocent. He is so kind, sweethearted. They did something so brilliant. So James Marsden comes in like the celebrity, I'm sure you recognize me. Don't worry, there's no way I'm going to get on this jury because, like, I'm a distraction. The judge is played by Alan Barinthal, which is Ike's father.
Oh, Ike Barinthal.
Baron Holtz.
Thank you. Ike's real life father.
Oh, wow.
Now, I'm really good. I know most of the people in this room are because we watch a lot of television, recognizing actors' faces. Like, oh, he did one cameo in, Saved by the Bell 20 years ago. I almost didn't recognize any of these people. So that was another thing. And a lot of them have background in comedy and improv and things like that because it is probably loosely scripted. And then there are moments that they got to go with it. But it is in a real courthouse. They have the bailiff is fantastic. There's so much lunacy that goes on that there's this one character that is our mother, Barbara Goldstein, played by Susan Berger, who is falling asleep through most of the jury while she's standing and hearing testimony. It's so great. Ronald gets assigned as the foreperson and takes it very seriously. Oh my God, it's a delight to watch. And James Marsden throughout it, basically being himself, getting frustrated at times that, he's not really getting the star recognition. And it also really ticked him off that he didn't get picked as a jury member. He got picked as an alternate.
Oh, no. What?
So, there's
that's
so many
kind
great
of
layers.
where he was in the X-Men. He was kind of like, well, yeah, you got the laser eye, but we need the muscles.
And I don't want to give a lot away, but there's a reason why, of course, they have to get sequestered. So then they're forced to all be together. And Ronald is just, like I said, that he's the only one that does not know. And it's just so, he takes it so seriously. It's so great. So that is Jury Duty on Amazon Prime. I really kind of highly recommend it. So the last one I want to wrap up with, of course, I've got quite a few more, but the one I actually had left over from my airline.
Oh, from
American
Airlines.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
How long was that flight?
It seems super freaking long now that you really take it into retrospect. I watched, and I feel like, John, I feel like maybe you recommend this to me, but maybe you said you didn't watch it. 3,000 Years of Longing.
I did not.
Oh. Okay, I don't know first of all, it's Tilda Swinton. So right there, I was like, what is this? I love her. So
yeah, I remember when this came out and I somehow was very interested, but then didn't see it.
Well, it's 2022. It's a fantasy romance, and it's basically a genie in the bottle. But it's done in sort of a hyper... the cinematographer, the lighting, it's directed by George Miller. So that alone should tell you...
Very stylistic.
Well, yeah, because Mad Max Fury, this is a kind of a departure. It was odd, but you can imagine the hyper surreal colors, scenarios. It had a very fantastical feel to it. And knowing that it's George Miller, the Australian filmmaker who did Fury Road and all those type of elements, you're like, oh, okay. I'm kind of getting the tone of it because of him. So it's Tilda Swinton and, oh my God, genie in the bottle, rub me the right way. Hell yes, Idris Elba plays the genie.
Yeah.
Hot as shit.
Listen, as you talk about this, and I don't know the plot of this movie, but I'm going to make some assumptions
Yes.
that a lot of other dudes have been rubbing this lamp, and he keeps popping out going, wish,
No.
wish. And then he's like, ooh,
No.
Tilda,
No.
hello.
No.
3,000
No.
years of longing is the joke I'm making.
Well, I know, yes, but... And does not get rubbed very often.
Oh.
And, she finds the unique... It's not necessarily your classic little, with the spout. It's more a bottle. And just even how he gets put back in the bottle numerous times and is found in Istanbul. Her character that Tilda plays is very unique because she is a scholar in mythology. So when she rubs the bottle and a genie comes out, it's like, you ain't going to fool me.
Oh, she knows what's up.
I know how to do these wishes. And it is a love story. They are sexy together. I really enjoyed it watching it on my phone on an airline. But you can now watch it on, I think, Paramount Plus. So 3,000 Years of Longing. It's, like I said, a fantasy romance, modern day Genie in the Bottle. The two leads are really the main focus. There's very few other characters in it at all. Tilda and Idris just have chemistry. He's gorgeous. It also made me realize, he needs, and I'm kind of bummed, but supposedly, the rumors were always like he's going to become Bond.
Right.
And he said he actually went like, forget it, because some of the pushback racially was so harsh that he was like, I don't need this in my life.
Oh, come on.
But you look at him and you're like, damn, you need that opportunity of a leading man. You are a leading man. I mean, you are all the adjectives that are equatable to a leading man. So, and then Tilda with just listen, she's so beautifully odd.
Oh, yeah.
This embraced it all. So those are the 3 things I am bringing to the pod this week.
Love it. Okay, John, you're up.
Sure. I saw this movie in the theater, but now you can rent it pretty much. Sisu or Sisu might be the right Finnish pronunciation.
Finnish. Okay.
Yeah. So if you heard about this movie that was ultra violent and set in World War II and kind of insane, but very real, or at least set in the real world, it's not exactly a World War II movie. It's not getting into the politics. If you actually look up what's happening, it's rather confusing compared to what's happening in the movie. But it's basically a grindhouse, Quentin Tarantino approved, ridiculous, violent movie.
Ooh, what made you go see this?
I see violent movies. What's wrong with you?
I know, but this surprises me.
It doesn't have to have fast cars and cool spy stuff. It could just be war.
Yeah, and look, unfortunately, I think other people who care about, Rotten Tomatoes and other things were what forced me into this, because it has an incredibly high rating on that and something else.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
yes, a lot of people do like it. It's good. It's very satisfying in its way, but it is kind of like, it's not more than that. So I don't know where you people are coming from.
Is it subtitles or?
Yeah, although, I saw this review that mentioned Quentin Tarantino and Sergio Leone. It's almost like that kind of Clint Eastwood Western where your lead says almost nothing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You do get words from other people. So, yes, those people are subtitled. It was...
And these are all Finnish actors.
Mostly, although apparently, a director, but not the 2 perhaps villains, one might say. One is English, and then another one is Norwegian, who we would remember as the chemist in The Martian, Axel Hein. He's very, unfortunately good as being the villain in this, so not enjoyable in that way. But otherwise, it's a ridiculous ride. It's improbably... the situations that happen, that are survived, that are continued are ridiculous, but almost realistic.
So like a John Wick, where you're like, the odds should not have been in his favor.
It's true, but unlike the Hunger Games, you're right. So yes, it's
John Wick in the Hunger Games would be amazing.
Oh yeah.
He'd just be like, "Who's the dude with the white beard?" Shwink. Done. What are we doing next?
Yeah. So look, it's a crazy ride in that way. So if that's what you're in the mood for, go for it.
I don't know that I'd ever be in the mood for that, but...
Well, you like John Wick, so...
Oh, all right.
Yeah, okay.
And above the title is Vengeance is Golden. Oh.
Yeah, that's a reference that's very important.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Interesting.
Well, that'll be it for this episode. So let's recap. I talked about the Big Door Prize, which is on Apple TV Plus. Also, Silo, which is on Apple TV Plus. And John and I both watched Class of '09, which is on Hulu, and The Great, which has just come back, which is also on Hulu.
And I watched Que Viva Mexico on Netflix and Flaming Hot on Hulu. And Liz and I both watched season 2 of The Bear, also on Hulu.
Wow, Hulu and Apple Plus.
I know, they're getting a lot of call-outs.
So I watched The Idol on Max, Jury Duty on Amazon Prime, and now available on Paramount, but I watched it on American Airlines, 3,000 Years of Longing.
And I watched Sisu, which you can rent.
All right, cool. So that'll be it for this episode. And you can follow us on all of our social media at Podcast Watching. And of course, we are now putting all of our episodes up on YouTube. So you can find us at the Knack Entertainment YouTube channel. So that's it for this episode of What We're Watching.